After my last visit to Clare Priory in Suffolk to look for spiritual anomalies, I decided to share with you yet another place of great antiquity, but this time closer to my home between the towns of Braintree and Witham in Essex. Originating from the 12th century, Cressing Temple was the headquarters of the religious order of the Knights Templar in England. This estate was granted to the Templars in 1137 by Matilda, the wife of King Stephen. The preserved wheat and barley barns are the two finest Templar-built barns in Europe, whilst the barley barn is recognised as the oldest timber-frame barn in the world. The Templars were crusading warrior monks who in the course of time became too powerful for the church and state, and as a result in the year 1310 the order was dissolved and their lands were handed yet to another warrior sect, this time the Knights Hospitaller. The Templars and the Hospitallers had built many fine buildings on site, but only the barns have survived to the present day. In turn, the Hospitallers were dissolved by an act of Henry VIII in the 16th century, and the lands and buildings were disposed of to become until recent times a working farm with later additional buildings, which includes a 17th century farmhouse and a granary barn. On my arrival, my first port of call was the granary barn, which, as you will see, had a variety of farm-related uses on the ground and upper floors. Now a museum to the working life on a farm, each section of the granary barn contains a variety of tools and implements that was once used in agriculture.
We're currently in the plough stables at the moment, and in all fairness I'm picking up something quite dreadful here. And this is part of the stables. I'm picking up a female being sexually assaulted in here a long time ago, and the imagery is quite appalling. It's very strong in here. I'm also picking up again the impression of a young man, a boy perhaps, and the impression of a third person. But I'm not picking up anything I can add to that particular description.
Of the presences detected, the violated female was the strongest, and I could feel her in spirit flitting around this area, but remaining out of view. I was also hampered by the proximity of the granary to the main Witham to Braintree road, and an exhibition of woodworkers whose presence created more noise, which hampered any chance of capturing EVP. I then decided to leave this area and to go to the upper floor of the granary barn to determine whether or not there was any further activity that could be detected and recorded.
The impression I have of this female that I picked up earlier was a woman, probably in the early part of the 18th century. Her name was Annie, and I believe that she was a milking maid or something similar. I don't feel anything horrible or sinister about her at all, but I can feel her presence here very strongly. I wonder perhaps in the past whether people actually lived in these type of buildings. You know, people that worked on the farm, as this used to be many years ago. Who knows? I don't feel anything unpleasant. I feel a hesitancy. I just see an outline of a figure move across the back there. I'll show you in the camera. Just across there. The problem with this site is the fact that it's so close to the main road. I've just seen a figure going across there again. I'll see if I can get a picture. It'll be a miracle, but I'll give it a try. I just see like a wispy grey ectoplasmic outline of a figure. It looked like a woman, and it looked as though it moved across the back. She's definitely around here. Annie, could you tell us more about yourself, please? And again, she's just moved across there. There's definitely a spiritual energy around me at the moment, very strongly. what I can actually see is just part of an outline, probably the head and part to the shoulder and down to the arm, but it shows as a grey ectoplasmic mist that just shapes around that particular outline. I've just seen it move across the back. I saw it moving across there earlier. She's behind me.
I then captured this amazing photograph of an orb, which appears to have a face. Here is the same anomaly in more detail. Having left the granary barn for a while, I then decided to visit the wheat barn.
I can't actually pick anything up at the moment. It's probably the distractions of people that are calling through. Plus there's some kind of a medieval theme park over there which looks absolutely appalling, I think. I'd rather see the building in situ than all the junk they piled in there to make it look interesting. However, what I do feel is it's a sensation of industry, people working continuously. I don't feel any kind of emotional attachment to this barn at all, which is pretty strange really. As you can see by the shots, it's an absolutely amazing structure and a fantastic example of medieval architecture.
Having decided to leave the wheat barn, I wandered over to the older barley barn, which being left in an uncluttered state, allowed me to appreciate the almost cathedral-like structure of its immense roof.
And in this building I can feel two presences, one of an elderly man and one of a young lad, a young boy. I say young boy, about 17 years old at this moment. I actually see these two characters working together. It may have been father or grandfather and grandson or son. It's very difficult to tell.
I then wandered around to see whether or not I could detect any EVP as being present. The only example that was recorded was poor quality, but sounds to be a man speaking in a local ruralised accent. What he is saying isn't discernible. I decided to return once more to the granary, as this area was quite definitely the most active of all three locations, but unfortunately was the noisiest. However, despite the noisy traffic nearby and the workings of the wood craftsman, I managed to capture this short segment of EVP, which again is not perfectly clear, but just to indicate the voice of a female in the area that I detected the spirit of Annie, who I felt was the woman who was attacked in the bay below the upper floor area. My verdict is that the granary is worthy of further night investigation, but unlikely to be granted, as the site is owned by the County Council of Essex. But as a whole, the site is worth visiting, if only for its history and purpose.